Do you like my blue outfit? Hey there guys, my name's Megan if you're new here, and if not, welcome back for another spooky episode of Killer Weekend, where each week we'll discuss a true crime case and you guys can feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments box below. Yes, those are dolphins hanging from my earrings.
The weekend is a dolphin!
If you like all things true crime, supernatural, UFO, conspiracy theory, and all that good stuff in between, then please hit that subscribe button. I'll be here for you each week with our true crime killer weekends, and on and off every couple of Wednesdays with our weirdo Wednesdays, where we'll discuss something spooky I've heard. I will leave a small disclaimer at the beginning of this episode. It does involve details of violent crime, gun violence, and also mental illness. If that's a trigger point for you, then please feel free to turn away now. But before we dive into the case, let me introduce you to this week's wonderful sponsor, ShipStation. I'm a firm believer in good vibes and the laws of attraction, and if you prepare for success, then success will come. This is 100% true when starting an online business, and by choosing ShipStation as your online shipping service, you can ensure that each customer receives your product promptly with a smile on their face. With ShipStation, you can manage all of your orders from one easy to use platform. I've got some really talented friends who run small creative businesses via Etsy, Shopify, and Not on the High Street. They've been very transparent with me about how overwhelming it can be to keep track of every single order, especially when you're using several retail platforms. But with ShipStation, you can stay on the ball with customized alerts and by generating all of your courier labels from the comfort of your own home or office. The holidays are a time for chilling with the fam with a cup of cocoa in hand, or in my case, a big glass of Baileys. So the last thing you want to be doing is freezing your bum off, waiting in line at the local post office to then have to pay a fortune in shipping fees. When starting a new venture, every penny counts. That's why ShipStation's impressive discounts on shipping rates can really help your business thrive. Whether you're the owner of a Fortune 500 company or running a small online enterprise, with ShipStation you can compare carriers, prices, and delivery times to ensure that you're getting the best deal for you and your customers. And not long from now, I'll be using ShipStation for my own little business. Yes, I'm talking about merch. I know you guys tune in each week from all around the world, so by using ShipStation for my own merch, I'll be able to reach every single one of you from all around the globe. Ship more and grow more with ShipStation. Go to shipstation.com/Megan True Crime today and sign up for a free 60-day trial. Start today and get set up before the biggest shipping season of the year. That's 2 months free if you visit shipstation.com/Megan True Crime. Happy shipping! Hey my wee gremlins, I missed you.
Did you miss me too?
Life right now has been busy, and I'm so excited because it's finally the most wonderful time of the year.
I love Halloween.
What's not to love? You've got the stunning, high-pitched sound of children's screams and the smell of 100% polyester, made in China. But nothing quite says All Hallows Eve like a night at the cinema to watch a scary movie. You sit there in the dark, all snuggled up to your honey, pretending to be scared in the hopes they'll respond with a big beefy arm wrapped around your shoulder. Please protect me. Ah yes, nothing quite says romance like watching a deformed serial killer pick off talentless teenagers for no logical reason whatsoever.
Did I know you did last summer make any sense? Don't think so.
For 120 minutes or so, we get to catch a glimpse into another world, one full of fear, final girls, and a lot of gore. And once the credits roll and the bad guy's had his last scare, the lights come on and we get to go home. But what if we didn't? Imagine the 2 hours of terror you'd just experienced in the movie theatre started to overspill from the screen into the real world. What if you no longer had to fear the villain from the film, but the one sitting inches away from you in the movie theatre? Tonight, everyone, we will be discussing the shocking murders of Rylee Goodrich and Anthony Barajas, the date from hell. It was 9:35 p.m. at night on the 26th of July 2021 when 2 TikTok celebrities walked into the Regal Edwards movie theatre in Corona, California. 18-year-old Rylee Goodrich and 19-year-old Anthony Barajas were on a first date and had planned on attending a late-night showing of The Forever Purge. These 2 kids were literally picture perfect. Rylee, who had only graduated from Corona High School the year prior, was on the Dean's List at Grand Canyon University. And Anthony, a former soccer star whilst attending Mater Dei High School, was nearing 1 million followers on social networking site TikTok. The pair had met through mutual friends at a party over the 4th of July weekend. The movie theatre was quite quiet that night and only 6 tickets in total, including that of Rylee and Anthony's, were sold for the late night showing of The Purge. Rylee wasn't the biggest fan of the Purge films. The series centres around a dystopian future in which the US government have made all crime, including murder, legal for 12 hours in a bid to curb the increasing crime rates. 18-year-old Rylee had expressed her distaste for the film in a text to her mum. She'd sent a message saying that it was boring and stupid during the movie. A couple of hours later, the plot reached its climax and the credits began to roll. Cinema staff walked up the illuminated staircase looking for spilled slushies and knocked over buckets of popcorn, but what they found was like something out of a slasher flick. There, slumped over the black and grey seats, was a deceased Rylee Goodrich and Anthony Barajas, who was minutes away from death. Anthony Michael Barajas was born on the 9th of August 2001 to his parents Catherine and Brian. From such a young age, Anthony had a deep appreciation for the arts. He loved musical theatre and was the first one on the dance floor at any school disco. Anthony's life centred around family. His sisters, Julia the eldest and Jade the baby, meant everything to him. Brian and Catherine were huge football fans and Catherine would not miss a single Notre Dame game. As a kid, Anthony also started taking an interest in sports. He was a gifted soccer player, and as he reached his teen years, he began surfing as well. However, the theatre would always have this California boy's heart, as he'd grown up watching musicals with his mother. The two would sit side by side in their theatre seats, holding hands as Anthony sang along. He had a beautiful singing voice and even won some lead roles in some of his school productions. In every photo of Anthony, you can't help but notice the faces of those around him. He just radiated joy, and that joy was clearly infectious. During his final year at Mater Dei High School in Santa Ana, Anthony pondered over his future. His parents were keen for him to continue on his soccer career, but fate would have other ideas when a 17-year-old Anthony joined TikTok. On February 26, 2019, the smiley teen uploaded a video of himself and one of his soccer teammates. He'd never anticipated being famous, but when Anthony uploaded a video of himself singing along to Sam Smith's Lay Me Down, things would change forever for the Barajas family. His family did believe in his talent, but Catherine and Brian wanted their son to be realistic about his future. So he made a promise. If TikTok didn't work out, he would give soccer his full attention. Anthony and his friends were so confident that they recorded the conversation. And well, I guess as you can see in this next clip, the rest was history.
Alright, so if we're not living in Beverly Hills by the summer, oh my god, then we will both go play soccer. Okay. Welcome to the home. Well, shit.
Week after week, the California Boys account would gain more followers. It was the kind of growth that most creators could only dream of. Anthony was soon snapped up by talent agency Cloud Defined, and whilst under their management, he grew exceptionally close to Jalen Martin. Jalen, a proud trans woman, founded Cloud Defined, and she would later go on to say that Anthony was not only a client, but a close personal friend. The Barajas were very proud of Anthony's online success, but they were always around to make sure that he stayed grounded. Despite his newfound fame, Anthony was never too cool for family time. In fact, the week before his movie date with Rylee, he'd went to Hawaii on a family vacation with his parents and his two sisters. He and Rylee Erica Goodrich, born on the 9th of September 2002, were actually pretty similar. Rylee, a big sister to Kira and a loving daughter to Danielle and David, was literally a ray of sunshine. Her most prominent feature has to be her massive smile. Rylee's Instagram was filled with pictures of she and her friends chilling at the beach. Much like that of Anthony's, Rylee's family were extremely close-knit, and her world revolved around those closest to her. She was an energetic little girl who loved to perform, so when she joined the cheerleading squad in high school, this seemed like the perfect fit for Rylee. Looking in from the outside, you might see this blonde, leggy teenager and assume the worst, but Rylee's classmates who attended Corona High School with her assured that she was far from your stereotypical popular girl. To her best friends, she was their rock, their voice of reason when dealing with the dramas of teen life. Rylee was an exceptional dancer and an amazing volleyball player. She also won awards for running track and kept up her good grades, so it was no surprise when she was offered a scholarship for Grand Canyon University to study business. When lockdown arrived in 2020, the senior class of Corona High School, oh the irony, were forced to make sacrifices. They really missed out on so much, but Rylee kept her head down and studied hard, and pretty soon she was saying goodbye to California and hello Phoenix, Arizona. Rylee hadn't always been the most self-assured young woman after years of suffering from acne outbreaks, but this was her time now, and she really thrived at Grand Canyon Uni. Of course, she missed her family and her beloved family dog, Kai, so she would try and visit as much as possible. Oh, I almost forgot as well, she even had the drive to open up her own business as a lash technician. Her clients would rave about Rylee's skills. So as you can see, it's easy to understand why when Anthony met Rylee over the 4th of July weekend, he was instantly drawn to the magnetic blonde. At first, when Rylee told her parents about the 19-year-old influencer, it's safe to say that Dad David wasn't thrilled. He didn't want his firstborn dating some internet poser, but Rylee assured him that there was more to Anthony than met the eye. Despite her family's strong reservations, the young man was eager to impress Rylee's family. Only a week before their first date, he had brought back several personalised gifts from his trip in Hawaii for the whole Goodrich clan. This kind and selfless gesture gave Rylee's family an insight into why she was so excited about their first date at the movies that awful night. Word spread fast through Corona, and pretty soon every news reporter was camped outside the movie theatre. Rylee was pronounced dead at the scene after being shot in the back of the head at point blank range, but Anthony had miraculously managed to pull through after being shot in the eye. He was taken to hospital and placed on life support. Investigators were stumped as to why someone would want to harm these two. They were literally just a couple of kids out on a casual date night. They looked into every possibility, from jilted ex-lovers to crazed TikTok stans, but nothing quite made sense. How did no one hear the gunshots in any of the surrounding screening rooms? And where were the 4 other guests who'd also bought tickets to the 9:35 showing? Law enforcement managed to track down the man who'd purchased all 4 of the other tickets right before the shooting. He was named Julian Velasquez. When they interviewed him, he gave up the names of his 3 other friends who'd also been at the picture house that night: Ramon, Carlos and Joseph. He claimed that the 4 of them had went out for a bite to eat at a nearby restaurant before heading to the cinema to see The Forever Purge. But once sat in their seats, things took a strange turn as the boy's friend, Joseph Jimenez, started talking to himself. Velasquez said Joseph stared straight ahead at the screen, but it was as if he was having a full conversation with someone who wasn't there. At the beginning of the movie, Joseph excused himself and told his friends he was going to get something from the car. When he returned, his odd behaviour continued until he turned to his friends and calmly said, "I have a strap," meaning a gun. As Joseph mumbled to himself, Julian, Ramon and Carlos hatched a plan to ditch him. They told him they were going to the bathroom together and would be back in 5, but they never returned. Their friends' actions had freaked them out so much that they decided to wait it out in the parking lot. But Julian said that the warning signs had been there for a while. Joseph had exhibited drastic changes in his behaviour since losing his mother the year before. Julian said you could be having a one-on-one conversation with him when he would just go silent and walk off. Sometimes it would even seem as if there was this 3rd invisible person in the group, as Joseph would look in the opposite direction and start talking to someone, but no one was there. Their friend was slowly withdrawing himself from the group, but in a last-ditch effort to include him, Ramon, Carlos and Julian had invited Joseph along to the movie that night. During dinner earlier that evening, he was looking at the wall, babbling away, and when they went inside to watch the movie, things only got weirder. The incoherent chatter continued, and every so often, Joseph would turn his head abruptly and stare at his friends. Julian said his eyes were crazed and angry, as if he wanted to knock someone out. The boys finally decided that enough was enough when they heard Joseph quietly whisper, "I can't do that to them. They're my friends." Terrifying. Julian would later admit to police that he had a gut feeling that something awful was about to happen that night, but that he did nothing to stop it. These guys had attended Santiago High School together. They'd known each other for years, so they were well aware of how off this new Joseph was, and they didn't call anybody, not even after he told them he had a gun. When Joseph Jimenez was arrested the day after the murder, it became quite clear to law enforcement that he was not only mentally ill, but a severely twisted individual. In his possession, investigators found a handmade Glock, which was consistent with the shell casings found at the scene. They also discovered Rylee's wallet, which had been taken as some sort of trophy. The evidence against Joseph was overwhelming, but his legal team hoped to get him off with an insanity plea. As a teen, Joseph had been diagnosed with schizophrenia and required medication to keep his delusions at bay. However, after the passing of his mother, Joseph said his pills had ran out and he simply decided just not to pick up another prescription. Without his medication, the walls between reality and this dark place inside Joseph's mind started to bleed into one another. According to Joseph and his friends' witness testimonies, he started to see and hear things that weren't there. And whilst law enforcement had no doubt at all that Joseph was mentally ill, they weren't convinced that his schizophrenia was the sole reason behind the shooting. The firearm used in Rylee's murder was a handmade pistol created from several parts of other guns, most likely to avoid a paper trail. The wallet found on Joseph's person had been taken from Rylee's body at the crime scene, a sick way for him to relive the attack. Joseph later claimed that he heard voices telling him to shoot Rylee and Anthony, and if he didn't comply, the voices would have his family killed. As this case was brought to trial, Anthony Barajas was in the ICU fighting for his life, his parents and his two sisters never leaving his bedside. A GoFundMe was set up for the family to help pay for Anthony's hospital fees, whilst his fans prayed for a speedy recovery. Hundreds of mourners created a memorial outside of the Regal Edwards cinema with life-size cutouts of both of the victims. They'd also written messages of hope in chalk on the nearby sidewalk. Friends of Rylee and Anthony left flowers and cuddly toys at the scene in honour of the amazing pair. But heartbreakingly so, all of those prayers could not heal the extensive injuries to Anthony's brain. And on the 31st of July 2021, after being pronounced brain dead, Anthony's life support was terminated. Because of his death, Joseph Jimenez was now being charged with 2 counts of murder, to which he pled not guilty by reason of insanity. However, because of the evidence of premeditation, a judge has ordered the now 21-year-old to stand trial later this month. It is a difficult one because the topic of mental health is so complex, and sure, if his schizophrenia is the sole reason behind the killings, I agree psychiatric treatment is the way to go. But on the other hand, investigators said Joseph was extremely lucid in interviews and would even admit that whilst completely sound of mind, he made the conscious decision to stop taking his medication, knowing full well that he could be putting not only his safety, but the safety of others around him at risk. The handmade weapon just seems off to me, as does the fact that he just so happened to murder 2 people whilst watching a movie about murder being legalised. After showing no signs of remorse or emotion to law enforcement, it's left them wondering whether Joseph's mental illness really was the main cause, or are we just looking at a very angry young man? Rylee's father, David, has expressed his outrage that no precautions were taken to ensure his daughter's safety at the Regal Edwards Theatre. He felt like cinemas should have metal detectors installed and security there to enforce that every person is checked for illegal weapons. And I completely agree, we would be checked going into a concert hall or a football stadium, so why should this be any different? Anthony's family continuously post memories of him on social media, and it's clear to see from that his death has left a very big Anthony-shaped hole in their lives. To their online fans, Rylee was a shiny, happy cheerleader and Anthony was a handsome soccer star who loved a selfie, but they were so much more than that. To Rylee's friends, she was one of the strongest girls that they knew. In the spring of 2021, she lost not only her grandfather, but her grandmother, and she still pushed on, excelling in college, and was still able to be the rock for her many friends. Anthony had once told Rylee's father that whilst TikTok fame was great and everything, it paid the bills, he knew that it was a role he was playing and he wouldn't let it alter who he was underneath. Shortly before the movie that night, Rylee and Anthony ate dinner at Wood Ranch, Rylee's favourite restaurant. The night was full of possibilities. Would they see each other again? Would they just stay friends? Or had these young lovers found their person? I guess we'll never know. But wherever their souls are now, I hope they're with each other. Can I lay by your side, next to you, next to you, and make sure you're alright. I'll take care of you, and I don't wanna be here if I can't be with you tonight. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode and that wee sing song from me. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. It really helps this wee channel o' mine. If you're watching for the first time, what took you so long? Welcome to the family. Please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. If you would like to see more of these 90s curtain hairdos, then feel free to follow me. Not home or in dark car parks, because that's illegal, on Instagram at MeganTrueCrime. I also have a TikTok page at Megan.truecrime. And for all my boomers out there who are still using Twitter, it's at MeganTrueCrime. It's basically my swan song by now, but I love you so much. I hope you all know how much I appreciate you. And to all of our new subscribers, hello, it's me. I promise I'm not this annoying 24/7.
You are a liar, actress.
So, before we head off for the night, let me remind you to lock your doors, don't talk to strangers, and also, if your friend is a giant walking red flag, please contact someone. If not, it could be too late. See ya! Please don't be nasty in the comments about my singing, I'm very fragile.
I'm fragile and very fragile.